All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Let me make myself smaller. This up here. Okay. I'm going to keep you guys muted until towards the end, and then we can open it up for questions. So if you do have a question, make sure that you write it down, and then we'll get to it at the very end, because hopefully your question will be answered as we go along through this. So today we're talking about the sales pipeline inside of your command, and that's inside opportunities. So we're going to go ahead and go into opportunities, and if you hover, here are your applications, and if I hover over the shaking hands, that takes me into opportunities. So just a little disclaimer real quick, we as an office have not moved into this section as far as compliance and all of that. That should be coming very quickly. We did have something in the works, but with COVID-19, it's kind of just pushed everything around, and we're just still trying to get a handle of everything. So eventually, very soon, eventually, we will be using the opportunity section for your compliance. So that will be happening very soon, very, very soon. But today, I want to show you what you can do with it as far as right now, to be able to track what you have going on and all that, because this isn't just for what's active under contract and what's closed. Ideally, we want you to be using this to put your leads in here, to help you see that you're cultivating that lead, and eventually you want to get that lead into the appointments, and then eventually that appointment will maybe turn it into active, or you help them find something to buy. So this isn't just for what's active and what you're working on right now. This is for everything. Okay, so right now mine's going to look a little bit different, but if you are on a team, you should see something similar. So I have added myself as a team, so that way I could kind of see some of the team functionality. So if you are on a team, your team name will be right here, and that'll be what is the default. All right. Next to that, you're going to have your name, so your account name, and then you're going to see all opportunities. This is something new, and it's called all discussions. We'll get to that later on. And then down here, we do have some more functionality. So show comparison, that will be you'll be able to use that once you start putting data inside of the opportunity section. All right. So if I click, or if I hover over the I next to show comparison, it kind of just explains what this is. So how well are you converting your opportunities? Now you can compare your pipeline performance with all the command agents. So if you kind of want to see your stats next to somebody else's, and really with all of the command stats, if we turn that on, let's see, it may take a second to update. So let me just hit refresh. Let's see if it refreshes for us. I'm not seeing anything. We'll come back to that later on. All right, and then we have all assignees. So because I'm on a team, if you're not on a team, you're not going to have this. But if you are on a team, all of your team members will be highlighted right here. All right. Now, we're not going to get into a lot of team functionality today, because that is still all evolving, and we're going to have specific classes for teams coming up very soon. Now, this import button, I want you to ignore it. We are not using it. All that's going to do is it's going to prompt you to hook it up to .loop and to pull in your .loop files. Now, when I say pull in your .loop files, I don't mean your actual documents. It's going to just pull in your data. So like if you put in that, you had the sales price, or you had the close date, that's the kind of data it's going to pull in, and we don't need it. Focus on 2020, and we're going to focus on anything that's brand new. Okay, we're not going to be importing any old data from .loop. And then we have our create opportunity button. So this is what starts everything. And then next to that, you do have the settings spinning wheel. If we click on that, actually, you know what? We're going to come back into that later. Too far ahead. All right. So the big thing to remember is before you even create the opportunity, if I click this create opportunity button, we're going to pull up the opportunity card. The first thing you should do before you even do this is you need to make sure the contact, the person that you are creating this opportunity for, they're already in the contact section in Command. So make sure that's your first step. Before you even come in here to start creating anything, that contact should already be uploaded into your contact section, all right? So our Market Center name is already applied in there for us. If you are on a team, your team name will filter in here. Opportunity type, we're just going to pretend for this one that we have the listing, but if I click the drop down, you have listing, buyer, landlord, tenant. So we're just going to leave it as a listing. I am the owner of this transaction. All right, this is not the owner of the property or the owner of the home. Client, so this is where it's important to make sure you had already inputted your contact into the contact section. So if I click into the search box, I can start typing in a name. All right, so there is my client. If you had a seller and a co-seller, you could put them in there both. So that's easy on that part, but again, make sure you've already inputted both of the contacts, all right? Okay, and then we get to opportunity name. So in this instance, this is a listing. Now, when you think of opportunity name, I want you to think of how we already name our loops, because an opportunity is going to be very similar to your loops, all right? So for opportunity name, we want the property address at the beginning because that's how we search for your properties for compliance. If you want to throw the last name of the seller buyer at the end, that's fine too. Just make sure that you have the property address at the beginning. Custom tags. So these tags are not like your contact tags. These are specific to opportunities. So you could, create whatever you wanted to. So if I wanted to create first time home buyer, I could create that. Okay, so you kind of get the picture on that. Create, custom tags that'll help you remember anything specific for this opportunity. Estimated close date, because this is a listing, we're not necessarily going to know the estimated close date yet. So I'm going to leave that blank because eventually later on I can come back and update it if I need to. Estimated list price. We're going to pretend that this listing is just in the appointment phase. We don't even know if they're going to list with this yet, okay? So we're just going to give an estimation. All right, commission rate, not the full commission rate. This is only going to be your commission rate. Now, if you have both sides, obviously put the full commission rate, but if you just have the one side, put the one side. We don't need the full. Opportunity phase. All right, so your opportunity phase, this is important because this is where you're going to drop this opportunity into the section of your sales pipeline. All right, so if I click my drop down, here are my options. You have cultivate, appointment, and active. All right. So again, if it's a lead, we're cultivating that lead, it's going to pop it into the cultivate section. Are we in the appointment section, or is this, we have listing paperwork, it's active. So for this example, we're going to say that we are in the appointment phase. And within that appointment phase, we have a stage. So are we scheduling it? Have we scheduled it, or have we kept it? And you'll see what I mean for this section when we get into it. But so let's just say we are scheduling this. Okay. All right, then we have assignees. Now, if you're a single agent, your name should already populate there. But if you're on a team, you are able to come in here and select multiple team members. All right. All right, so I filled everything out, and now I'm ready to create my opportunity. All right, so now we're inside of our opportunity card. We'll come back to this in a second because I want to go back to my sales pipeline. All right, go one more back. All right. So I'm looking at my sales pipeline, all right? So I've got my cultivate section, my appointment section, active, under contract, closed. Right now I have 2 opportunities within the appointment section, all right? It shows me my volume. If I come all the way to the right, based off of what I put into my potential income for both of the opportunities I have, it's giving me my potential income. And that's the total commission from all listing opportunities. So it's pulling everything in my listing opportunity section and then a probable income. Okay. And that's adjusted commission based on each stage's probability to close. Now, don't focus on that probability to close because that's not going to be that accurate until you start putting in your data. Okay. So right now we're going to have very limited data. So just know that we're not going to get, the real probabilities until you have a lot of data flowing through here and you're keeping up with it. All right. Okay. So let's go into this appointment section because that's where I put my opportunity. So if I click into the appointment section, this is what's really neat about Command. All right. So actually, let me delete this one out of there because that was from an old training. All right. So this is that opportunity I created. So that was what we named it. There's my client name. There is the commission, and there is that custom tag I created. Now, the really cool thing about this opportunity section and the way the sales pipeline works is that it's a drag and drop feature. So let's say, you know, I'm scheduling this appointment. I've called Cody and we have decided we are going to meet about this listing. All right. For you guys to be able to keep up with where are you at with this contact, let's say, okay, I had the appointment and they decided they're ready, okay, to see me to look at paperwork. I can drag, so if I pick this up, I'm holding it down on my mouse. If I pick it up, I can drag it to the scheduled section and I can just drop it right there, okay? So now this opportunity is in the scheduled section, all right? So you kind of get the picture. I can drag, drop it in the kept section, okay? So let's say we kept the appointment and they filled out the paperwork, so now it's active. To get it into these sections up here, it's the same thing. I can drag it, and if I hover over active, do you see where the box is turning blue? Once you see the blue, I can let go of it, and now if I go into the active section, there's that opportunity. Okay, so it's a really cool drag and drop feature. All right, so there's a lot of other functionality just within this opportunity that we can play around with. So let's look at this checklist, okay? So this checklist is specific to this opportunity, all right? And there is a lot of checklists that you can create within each opportunity and even within your sales pipeline, okay? So your checklists are the things that you do in certain stages of the transaction. So right now we're in the staging active checklist section, but let's say that, we'll just go off of this. So your staging active section. So if I click add item, I can add items for the staging section. So call stager. Okay, we'll just do that. And we're going to assign that. And because I'm on a team, it's going to ask me, okay, whose responsibility is this to complete the task? I'm just going to put, let's see. We'll put it on Miss Sharon. Okay, I'm going to set a due date. So let's say this is due on Friday the 17th at, we're going to go to 12:20 p.m. Hit OK. We're going to save that. Okay, let's do one more. So I'm going to add another item, and now we're going to meet the stager. No, let's see. We'll meet the stager at the house. So what happens when I try to do stuff off the fly. We're going to assign this to Sharon again, and we're going to set a due date, and this is due on, let's say we're going to meet them on the 19th. Okay, and we're going to meet them at 1 o'clock or 1:20 in the afternoon. Hit OK and save. All right. So now here are my 2 tasks that I need to complete for this staging phase. Okay. So what's going to happen, because I've added these, I've given them specific dates and specific times. If I exit out of that, as it gets closer to the due date of these items, what's going to happen, I'm going to come back to my home section. Those tasks are going to start to populate in your task management system. So right now we're on contact tasks. Now, what we just created is not a contact task, that's an opportunity task. So make sure when you're looking at this, you're not just looking, you know, at the first thing you see, because remember, this is a contact task view. That's not what we just created. We created an opportunity task. So if I click the drop down on contact task, there's my opportunity tasks. There's nothing there yet because we're not, it's not the day of the task being due. So just know that you will need to flip back and forth through those. So we're going to come back into the opportunities. Let's come back into that opportunity, and that is in the active phase. Okay, and let's come back to our checklist, because right now it still says 0 of 2, so nothing has been completed yet. So I'm going to click in there. Let's say, okay, I called the stager. I'm going to check that off my list. And did you see once I clicked it, it put a strike through it. So 1 of 2 have been completed. Now let's say, okay, I've met the stager at the house. That's done. So I'm going to check it. It's been marked 2 out of 2 complete, and I can close out of it. So if you're a visual person, you're going to see that 2 out of 2 has been completed, so that you know the tasks that you've created for that opportunity have been completed. All right. So now let's say that we are going to drag and drop this into the showing phase. Now, for our tasks, it went back to 0, 0, because the tasks that we had created were with the staging phase, and now we're in the showing phase, and now you're able to create tasks for the showing phase. All right. So now you don't have to create these on the fly. I should have showed this in the previous section, but I can actually, so up here you have a back and forward arrow. I can go through these. So there was the staging phase that we were previously in, and there are the tasks I created and I finished them. You can do this at the very beginning when you're creating that opportunity. Come in here and go ahead and set up your tasks. Okay, I'm in the kept appointment section. What happens after I've kept the appointment? Make your checklist. Here's our staging section. Here's our showing section. Go make your checklist. I mean, it goes all the way to close. So we got negotiations, escrow, inspections, appraisal, financing, clear to close, and closed. So you're able to create those checklists at the very beginning. You don't have to wait until we're in that section or we're in the next section. So just know that you're able to create those checklists for each section. All right. So let's exit out of that, because I do want to show you something real quick since I saw it come in here. So you will see that you have a legacy section. You're not going to be putting anything in there. That is if, and I've told you guys not to do this, but if you import anything from .loop, that's where it throws those into the legacy section. So just ignore it for now. Don't be dropping anything into the legacy section, because that's really just if you imported anything from .loop, that's where it's going to put it. All right. So let's see. We also have different views of if you're a visual person and you don't really like this view of it, you have another option. So right now we're in the list view. I can click on board view. Nope, I'm sorry, we're in the board view. If you want to look at the list view, there's what the list view looks like. Okay, so it's more vertical. It still is the drag and drop feature. I'm not really a fan of this, but if you are, have at it. But that is the list view, and this is the board view. Okay. Same features, it's still a drag and drop feature. Nothing has changed for that aspect of it. All right. And I can even edit stages if I want to. So if I click edit stages, if there is something else that you want to add that's not already on the list, add it. Okay, that's completely up to you. All right. Okay. So let's go inside of this opportunity so we can go over all the functionality inside each opportunity. So inside each opportunity, I have a checklist, another checklist. And this is based off of the other checklist. So you're not going back and forth to see what's been completed and what hasn't. You can still access all of those checklists from inside the actual opportunity. Okay. So there's not a lot of back and forth you're going to have to do. You can always access that from inside the opportunity and look at all of your checklists at once. All right. This is something that's new, and you now have a discussion button. So if I click that discussion button, when I say it's new, it's very new, like it was rolled out yesterday new. So this is where you'll be able to talk to, your team members, and then eventually your clients, which is really cool. So if your client is using your app, that's how you'll be able to communicate with them, and that's where that communication will be saved. So that's really cool. I'll have more information on that coming up. But if you want to learn more, if you just click on this learn more about opportunity discussions, you can read more about it there, but this is still fairly new. So let's exit out of there. All right, so we're in the details section. And I've got general information, I've got property information, my seller worksheet, and then a description. So it will be important to try to fill out as much general information as you can, because once we move into DocuSign, so DocuSign will be our vendor of choice as far as our e-signature platform. We haven't moved there yet, but that's coming very soon. So just know that the more the better, okay? Fill in as much information as you can, because that's what will transfer whenever we're connecting it to our e-signature platform. All right. And to edit it, you'll see you'll have pencils in each section. If I click the pencil, that's where I can go and edit my information. So I can edit the close date, any appointments that you've made, contract date, close date, price, and commission. All right. So we're gonna click cancel. All right. You can also select the listing. So if this was your listing, you can select it from KWLS. So you can come in here and search for that. Nothing crazy there. All right, seller profile. So this is something that's new as well. All right, so app association and guide. So this is, again, something that rolled out fairly new, I think, as of yesterday, is from what our tech regional has said, but with the discussion rolled out as well. But the seller profile is very new. So if your clients register within your app, that means they have your app, they created a profile, it will connect with their opportunity, and it'll, because it's connected with the contact card. Okay, so right now it's saying Cody Hammer is not registered with the consumer platform. So you'll kind of be able to track that. I would definitely try to get them on your app, even if they've already found the property they want to. The cool thing is that they're still going to be able to track the process of the transaction within your guide. So what you're going to be able to do is guide them through the transaction process through your app, which is really neat. So again, this just rolled out yesterday. They just told us about this morning. So I'll have more information on this part, but this is going to be really cool to help you help them and guide them through the transaction process. Okay. All right. We're not going to get into these sections because that has to do with compliance. And we're kind of on hold with that. That's going to be its own separate training. So let me pull you guys up and let's open this up with questions, because I feel like we can go over a lot more once we kind of see what you guys want to know about. So let me unmute you. All right. Anybody have any questions over what we just went over?
Yes.
Okay. What's your question, Julia?
Okay, so I already have checklists made in my old database.
Okay.
I can just go to, set up new listing, let's say.
Okay.
And so it's got day 1, do this, day 2, do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can just hit a start date on that list and it will automatically populate what I need to do. So it'll say today's the start date, so tomorrow you're going to do this, the next day you're going to do this.
Gotcha.
We do that in the checklist. Do we have to make a new checklist for every single client, or can we create a template?
You can create a template. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you can create a template. So that was specific to that actual opportunity. But if I come into like the cultivate section, Julia,
yeah.
Where is it? Okay, yeah. Wanted to make sure that's before I said it. So if I come into each section, so I'm in the cultivate section. This is for your leads. If I come into the cultivate section and I click on edit stages.
Okay.
So just within the cultivate section, here are my stages. So watch, nurture, hot. I can create checklists for each item. So that is where you would create your default checklist.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense? And then they're there, and then they're just attached to each opportunity as you're putting opportunities into your sales pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where you're going to put your actual default, so you're not having to go into each opportunity each time.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. What else we got? Any other questions, or how are you guys feeling?
Love it.
Good.
I do like it. I do have a few questions.
Yes.
Silly me. When you were in the beginning creating an opportunity, which I have done multiple times, but I guess I'm having a moment today because I just created a new one for a closing I have upcoming, and I thought I'd entered them before, but when I created it, it put them into the listing instead of the buyers.
Okay.
Can I move it without having to delete it and start over?
Not right now. So
I don't know how I missed changing or selecting that it was the listing versus or a buyer versus a listing.
Gotcha. So unfortunately, right now you're not able to move those. So you will have to archive it and then go and create a new one.
So even if I create a new one right now, what am I missing? Oh, opportunity type. Good grief.
Yeah. So yeah,
right there in front of me.
And Linda brought up another good point, you guys. So let's say, okay, let me pull up that opportunity. So let's say you do some tests, but you don't want them clogging up your pipeline. It's just, you're practicing, you're doing some tests. If you want to get it out of there so that it doesn't reflect inaccurate data on your pipeline, before I even go inside the opportunity, if I click the 3 dots on the opportunity, I can archive it. So that'll just take it out of your pipeline. It's not, reflecting on your numbers or anything. But let's say this is a true opportunity. And let's say that, because of COVID-19, they decided they didn't want to list, and they're not wanting to list at this time. If you want to get that off, let's say we need to bust it out. Inside the opportunity, I have a lost opportunity button. That's where you would bust it out. Okay, so that way you want to track your sales correctly. So if it's a true listing and you lost it, we need to click the lost opportunity. If you're doing a bunch of tests in here and you're playing around with it, you're practicing, you want to archive those. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
All right, what else you guys got? We've got about 9 minutes and 22 seconds before it cuts us off.
Oh, okay. Real quick, when you were creating the tasks and you assigned them to other people,
yes,
like Sharon and so forth, does it automatically send something to them telling, like it does in Dotloop, it emails them. Does it do the same thing in Command?
As far as notifications, it's not going to email them, but the notification will come up inside their command, and it's going to be on their opportunity tasks list to complete. That's the one thing about notifications I'm not a big fan of right now, and I think International hears that from a lot of people. We don't get email notifications through Command. It's all through Kelly, and it's all through your desktop view of Command on your bell. So everybody has a bell next to their profile picture. This is where all of your notifications will be located at.
And that's a little challenging if people aren't logged in every day.
It is. So it is just, you just got to be in the forefront of your mind. I'm just going to have to make the effort and the point to make sure I log in every day so I'm not missing anything. Just know, Command is always evolving. It's going to get better, and they're listening to us. They know that we need those email notifications big time. So it's coming. It's just not here right now.
Okay.
Any other questions, you guys?
I have one.
Yeah.
This is Julia. Is there a Promote My App smart plan in place?
Yes, there is. Yeah, it is actually in your smart plans library. If I come into the library, Julia, there is a right here, Promote My App, and you can add that to your smart plans.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, you guys? No?
Nope, I'm good for now.
Okay. Just another reminder, as far as when are we moving to Command 4 compliance. That's very soon. We just kind of got a little discombobulated with COVID-19, but just know that that is coming. So just keep your eyes, ears open. We'll be labbing it with a few people and teams. So just to get our process down. So that's coming very soon. So I appreciate you guys being on the training today. And if there's anything that I can help you with or anything that you want to do a one-on-one off, we can do that as well. So I just want to say thank you for being here today.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Alicia. Awesome as always.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.